Hey there, YouTube. Welcome back. So, a little bit different setting today. We're in the old Dodge, in the old pickup truck. So, it's a little bit different video today. I'm not going to be doing any work, but I'm kind of introducing like a sort of a comment box discussion topic. Something kind of interesting that I found out about this truck. So, I've had this truck for it's 2 years. I think I got it. Yeah. November 2016, so it'd be 2 years ago. And when I got it, it ran great. It really hasn't been an unreliable vehicle, but it's been pretty reliable. And it's not stock anymore. It's got fuel injection and intake and headers and stuff like that on it. But the engine itself is factory. It's the original cylinder head, and the engine internally is all original. It's got 237, about to be 238,000 miles on it, so pretty high mileage vehicle. I wouldn't say it's really tired or, about to go up or anything like that. It's got a slant six in it. They're pretty reliable, pretty tough. But what I noticed is when I bought the truck, when I brought it home, I did a tune-up on it and pretty much went through and did all your basic preventative maintenance stuff because it sat up for a few years. I drove it 700 miles home and did all that stuff before I left, and it did fine. So I put Autolite plugs in it, and I'm not here to like bash any brands or plug for any brands or anything of that sort, but I read a lot of books that have to do with engine building and stuff like that. So the particular engine builder I like uses Autolite spark plugs and talks about modifying them and stuff like that, and I've never had any issues with Autolite plugs. For most of the American stuff I work on, or any small engine stuff, I put Autolites in them because they're usually cheaper and they work pretty good, so no issues there. I guess it just depends on how I feel, but most of the time I get the Autolites if I'm buying a set or whatever because they're usually cheaper. And in every other case, they've worked good for me, except for this one particular instance where the factory plug's a Champion, and it's not. I don't particularly think that Champion is a better spark plug than an Autolite as far as quality. This might be where somebody in the comments is angry and says Autolites are garbage, leave them in your Ford kind of thing, because I've heard that kind of stuff before, and some people don't like Champions either, and they'll say put NGKs in it or something like that, and you might be right. NGKs are a good plug. Anything I got that's Japanese that specs an NGK from the factory always gets NGKs. So, but in this instance, it was very strange because I had like a sort of like a intermittent misfire. Even when it was carbureted, it would always have this one cylinder that would skip, and it didn't, it was kind of random whenever it would come up, and it wouldn't be while you were cruising. It was usually at idle, and it's always had a bit of a hesitation problem and kind of sluggish when you really want to get on the throttle. And I don't know. I mean, I have pretty good service history on this because the previous owner gave good service history. They wrote it in the manual and all that. I have all the booklets and manuals and all that stuff for this truck. They did a good job of maintaining it. It's in pretty good shape for its age and mileage, but I don't know how it ran before they parked it. But the really interesting thing to note is like I said, I put Autolite spark plugs in it, and I'll show you the plug here. You can see that it does have a little bit of a projected tip on it. The porcelain and the center electrodes stick out a little bit higher than your thread, like your barrel section of your spark plug here. And the Champion plugs, I don't have one here to show you, but I mean, we're talking like 40 or 50 thousandths difference. And I noticed there was a difference because this is an Autolite 26. Comes in a lot of Fords and a lot of Chevys. I mean, you can use this spark plug in a lot of different engines. It's pretty common spark plug. And after 75, these engines went from a gasket seat long reach spark plug to this short reach tapered seat plug. I'm not entirely sure why they decided to redesign the head. I guess it's cheaper to cast. Those old ones had removable spark plug tubes with seals, so I guess maybe for cost they did that. But And that's not really like it doesn't make these cylinder heads inferior. This isn't like an inferior designed spark plug. I don't think it really matters one way or another. But the one thing I noticed when I picked up a Champion plug and looked at it, because where I work we do stock the Champion plugs, just they're there because some Kohler engines use them. I noticed there was probably 40 or 50 thousandths difference in height, whereas the Champion plug actually stuck out a little bit farther, but these are shorter. And during I really hadn't tried to dig into the diagnostics of the misfire too much. I just wasn't really, I don't know, I guess I was being lazy. But then recently it was starting to get on my nerves. I'm like, okay, so I've done all this stuff to this engine. Everything seems good with it, except for that misfire, which was causing it to have not so good a gas mileage and just not the best performance. It just didn't seem right. So check for vacuum leaks, did very thorough checks for vacuum leaks. I can't find anything. You use flammable liquids or you use water and you're listening for like a hissing sound where something's sucking up the water. There's nothing. I've searched high and low for a vacuum leak around number 6 cylinder, which is the one that's giving me the issue. I was like, well, wonder if it's a compression issue or we got some leak down. Do a compression test, and number 6 is actually higher than the rest of them. It's at they're all kind of low. These engines don't really have a lot of compression. They're all around 110, which is fine. The spec is above 100 and within 25 psi of each other. So it's not like this. The factory says these engines don't care about their compression rate, the compression spec at all. Like basically, if it has compression, it runs. But I was noticing like they were all around 110, 107, and then number 6 was 112. And I was like, that's weird, because that's the one that doesn't run right. I was thinking it would be low compression. So at that point I started thinking, do I have I got to thinking about it, do I have a combustion chamber deposit problem? Like, is there a lot of carbon built up in there? So that's my current theory on why I had this misfire and why a longer spark plug actually made a difference, because this thing runs a lot better just by putting Champion plugs in it, just because the tip was projected more. So I'm not like I said, I'm not bashing Autolite. I'll still continue to use them and stuff where it's like in this case I don't need to use them because they don't work right, but in most cases I don't have any issues. So I just thought that was really interesting and thought that I would share that. When you're dealing with aftermarket parts, there's not usually anything wrong with aftermarket, but sometimes when you're deviating from your factory manufacturer of the parts, you got to make sure you're getting the exact same part. I'm going to reiterate, I don't think this is inferior quality, and it works in other applications, and it generally works in a slant 6 that takes these plugs. But in my case, it doesn't, because the projection of the spark plug tip is different from the factory plug. I think that's what caused my issue, because of the amount of mileage and the buildup. Now, I changed those plugs. It's not perfect, but it is a very marked difference in performance and drivability. I also another thing I'd like to add is that I've done some research on there's a forum where a lot of guys talk about automotive chemicals, because I'm kind of a chemical nerd. I like dealing with automotive chemicals and getting in, reading the safety data sheets and seeing what's in it, and is this oil have higher magnesium and phosphorus and zinc? Does this other one have better film strength, or kind of doing those kind of comparisons with the oil change, your used oil analysis type of thing. So that stuff's pretty neat to me. But it's bobisttheoilguy.com. So I went on there, and these guys are talking about this chemical called polyether amine or amine. I'm not totally sure how you pronounce it. It's PEA is the abbreviation, the acronym for it. But you're starting to see more and more fuel system cleaners and injector cleaners with PEA in it, and people are saying that works really good to get these combustion deposits out of the chamber. You just clean it out. So I did a double dose of that, and it seems to be helping out too. So it's starting to support the theory of there was deposits either on my intake valves or the combustion chamber causing an improper combustion event, and having the projected nose on the plug just helped make it better. But really the root cause is that the engine's dirty. I think that's where I'm going with it. I'm also going to check my cam timing and make sure my chain's not got too much slack. I'll probably do a video on that, although there's a bunch of videos, and I'll probably link to some on that video, because I'm not going to go as in depth, but I'm going to check it and talk about, you know, what that could cause too. It could have led to the chamber deposits being more than normal. So yeah, that's just something I thought was interesting. I'm hoping that somebody chimes in the comments and has something to add to it, or maybe some questions, and maybe you can help me further my investigation of the performance issue on this truck. It is, you know, it's just part of having an old vehicle. Sometimes you get weird problems that aren't, it's not ignition related, because I've rotated the spark plugs out, you know, when it's misfiring. I'll rotate that plug from 6 to cylinder 1, which doesn't have a problem, and guess what, the plug from number 1 starts getting dirty and the plug from number 6 gets clean. I've changed plug wires, I've done the cap and rotor, because this was all part of the tune-up, and I kept some of the old stuff just in case, you know, because I've done, this does have some ignition modifications. It doesn't have lean burn, it's got a HEI module running the distributor and the coil, and it's got a couple different things. It's got an electronic distributor out of like a 70s slant 6 instead of the locked out lean burn distributor. So there's a couple things that are not original to the truck that would, you know, that's kind of a Frankenstein ignition system that works well, because it's not an ignition issue. I've done my due diligence to make sure that wasn't the problem, that I've ruled out a mechanical issue of low compression. The only thing I haven't ruled out that's mechanical is going to be, you know, the timing. But that would affect the whole engine, not just the one cylinder, because it is a one cylinder issue. Is number 6 only, and it's really strange, but it seems to be going away gradually. Like I said, with that cleaner in it, I put it in a couple days ago, and it's helped out. But the spark plugs made a huge difference. Like, it just idles so much better. But I just thought I just think it's pretty interesting that something that simple, we're talking 40 or 50 thousandths worth of material off the end of the plug on an engine that has what I believe to be a excessive amount of combustion deposits, would cause that poor combustion in that one. It would just load up and the cylinder would die at idle, and it would cause you to have issues where you'd come up to a light and it would want to stall out, because it's the fuel injection's like, what's going on? We don't usually have to work this hard to hold an idle at a red light. So yeah, I'll probably do an update with once I look at that cam timing, to make sure I don't have more, you know, timing chain slack than necessary, and I'll probably get into some more details about it when I do that video. But this one's just a update and discussion topic for today. So let me know what you guys think. I really want to hear anybody who watches this video, whether you're subscribed or not, to just, you know, your experience. If you've had something like this before, just let me know what you think, and I'll be active in the comments and in response, you know. Yeah, I'll see you in the comments, and see you on the next video. See ya.